Hi.
How are you? All right. Look, we are going live. Hello and welcome everyone to another installment of Get a Clue in 52. This is a particularly exciting version of Get a Clue in 52. Let me tell you what's happening for me right now. Today is April 7th, right? So first of all, I turn 51 years old tomorrow. So this is the Jeff birthday edition. So I'm getting ready to celebrate. But also, as I sit here right now, it was 1 week ago that I was in Las Vegas getting ready to go to Houston, where I'm now back from and recovering and getting settled in, and a lot of stuff piled up. So I got to go through emails and get back to people and rework schedules. But it was the time of my life. And this, broadcast isn't about the Final Four and men's college basketball and my alma mater, San Diego State. But that all happened the semester that I'm back on campus and I'm working with students. And one of the basketball players is a student in my classroom. That's all fresh and present. So I got the little Final Four banner. I got the Final Four shirt. I'm like in it, right? It was as at core, I'm a really, really passionate sports fan. Passionate about everything I'm passionate about, by the way. Sue and Patty, you both know that very well. It's nice of you to join in. And I'm going to be passionate about what we're doing today and Get a Clue in 52. Welcome. This version of Get a Clue in 52 is for coaches, myself included. But let me quickly tell you that the first version of Get a Clue in 52 is for anybody that wants to improve their communication skills, right? And the way that these books are organized, they're into 5 categories that have some sort of logical relationship. The first book that I did was the categories were communication, networking, sales, marketing, and accountability. And I made a lot of mistakes in that book. And I found out all of those mistakes when I would read one tip once per week, and I would see all of my errors. And so we improved it. We cleaned it up. But there's the categories: communication, accountability, marketing, networking, and sales. I'm proud of this. I've discontinued this. So if you want to get the original version, this is what you're looking for. And then I did a second version, not second edition of the first, but a second version of Get a Clue in 52 with a client, a friend, Vipul Dayal. We co-authored this project, and these tips are all about being an entrepreneur. So the categories are personal branding and business acumen, business ownership, leadership and influence, and work-life balance. So those are those tips. I read all of these tips last year in 2022. So that brings us to this year, Get a Clue in 52. And we know that the 5 categories in this book, Get a Clue in 52 for coaches, are right there: self-promotion, engagement, enrollment, motivation, accountability, and practice building. And so right now, today, we are in the engagement section. We had 11 tips in self-promotion, and now we have 9 tips that are all about engagement, enrollment. And so what do I mean by that? What I mean is, if you are an aspiring or an emerging coach building a coaching practice, what you are seeking to get is people to enroll in your coaching programs. If instead you're a supervisor, manager, director, VP, business owner, a leader, maybe even a director of a committee or an executive director of a nonprofit organization, you want your employees, direct reports, members, constituents engaged. If you can get somebody engaged in what they're doing, that's like way more than half the battle. They'll show up early, they'll stay late, they'll run through brick walls, they'll engage others, their energy will be magnificent. You won't have to micromanage. They'll be taking responsibility, on and on and on and on and on. And it's just a great way to build a coaching relationship, is to start with real strong acumen for the engagement enrollment process. And so that's where we are right now. Today is tip number 3 overall in this section, or tip number 3 in this section, tip number 14 overall, which means, this is the 14th week of the year. Don't blink. It will be 2024 before we know it. The other thing that I want to tell you real quick before I get into today's tip is that today, I'm going to start crying, but my baby is 1 year old. It was 1 year ago today that I released the Integrity Game. And it was my birthday weekend in Las Vegas that I was like, my thumbs were falling off, texting out the link, getting everybody under the sun to buy it. And we achieved our goal of getting the Integrity Game to number 1 in one of its 2 categories on Amazon. And that's a big thrill. So tomorrow's my birthday. Today's the 1 year anniversary of the Integrity Game's birthday. And wow, has it been a wild ride for the Integrity Game. We went to number 1 on Amazon. We developed the 90-day challenge group coaching program around it last year that I took myself through. And that led to a real, Sue, you could explain this to me, Patty. You saw the way I was vibrating in the fall, but it really led to my meeting with the dean and getting back on campus. And now Integrity Game is required reading for college level seniors at San Diego State. So this is incubating in the San Diego State environment in the same semester that we get to our first ever Final Four and the country fell in love with us on Saturday. Okay. So it's just kind of exciting, and I'm happy to be here. This is, I'm starting to get back into the saddle of the week and everything. And this is special. So before I get into it today, and I was looking at the tip, it's like, wow, this is a doozy. This is a big tip today. So I don't even know if I'm going to read it all word for word, but we're going to get into it. Before I get into it, let me just go ahead and acknowledge Patty. Thank you for being here today. Sue, thank you for being here. If any of you are watching out in cyberspace on any of the 3 channels that we're streaming this to, whether it's my LinkedIn channel, my YouTube channel, watch Get a Klu, all one word, or the Get a Klu in 52 Facebook group, which isn't private, it's public. Anybody can join, it's free, etc. We don't screen you or whatever. We just ask you to be a kind person. But before I get into the tip, let me say hello, Sue and Patty. Do you guys have any comments, questions, expressions of love, joy, or gratitude before we get into it?
I'm sorry for San Diego State losing.
No, but we didn't. That's the point.
Well, you lost the last game, but the ride was incredible.
Yeah, we were like, here's the thing. Check this out. One time, shout out to one of my best friends on the planet. I call him Dr. T-Bone, Terrence Gauthier, Dr. T-Bone. And he doesn't even like me mentioning his name in public. Very private dude. One of my best friends on the planet. One time I met him in Reno when he was going to University of Nevada, Reno. And I got there. He's like, hey, let's go to the casino. We were younger or whatever. And we walk into the casino. And I didn't have a lot of money at the time. I was scarce. I was, pinching every penny, so to speak, and nervous about gambling and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. My man, Dr. T-Bone, he walks right in. Whack, throws $100 down on a blackjack table. And of course, boom, he hits blackjack. So he gets 1.5, right? So it happened like in 3 seconds. Whack, 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 boom, 100. So he takes the original 100, puts it back in his pocket, and now the rest of the weekend he was playing with house money. And that's what the Aztecs were doing Monday night. When we were playing for a championship, we were playing with house money. We had already won the tournament. The whole country had already fallen in love with us, and we'd already gotten farther than we'd ever gotten. It was already the =1 sporting accomplishment in San Diego sports history, arguably, definitely in San Diego State history. So there's nothing we don't feel sorry. We don't feel sorry or apologetic.
Was that the first time a 5 made it into the championship?
Oh, I'm not so sure about that. I mean, one of the reasons that the tournament exploded in popularity was in 1993 when the North Carolina State Wolfpack beat Houston Cougars, and that was a huge upset. And I think they were a 9 seed. So I don't know about 5 specifically, but they certainly weren't the highest seed to play for a national championship. And UConn was a number 4 seed anyway. So it is rare for a 4 to be playing a 5 for the championship. It's rare for no number 1s to make it to the Final Four. All of those accomplishments were fantastic. We beat the number 1 ranked team in the nation, number 1 ranked team in the whole tournament to get to the Sweet 16. So that's as good or better than, we wanted to win the championship, but we don't have a lot of, I don't have a lot of room in my place for, oh, sorry, we didn't win. I hear what you're saying. You're being compassionate, but my point is we are too celebratory. We are too victorious to acknowledge that. We are not sorry. We are thrilled. So,
it definitely put your college on the map for basketball now.
Well, yeah, for recruiting and attendance, everything. Rising tides lift all boats.
Yep.
Rising tides lift all boats. Our entire community is, and there's going to be a big celebration at the huge football stadium tomorrow night. So it's like San Diego State's throwing me a birthday party, and I'm going to go hang out anyway. So let's do a little bit. Let's get back into this. I mean, the timing of everything. It's like pinch me. I'm having a very good time these days, and it's to me, it's because I do everything. I do it all for my family. This book and everything that I'm doing passionately and with all of the excitement, it's because I want to honor and feel like I deserve my wife and kids. My kids are always there, right there over my shoulder. And and then I also want to give a shout out to Troy Hoffman, who wrote the foreword for the book. And then just briefly, the 11 tips in the first section of the book were all about self-promotion. So without elaborating on all of them, let me just flash them across the screen. Number 1, start calling yourself a coach. Then only call yourself a coach when. And then don't just call yourself a coach. And there was some Kluby snacks along the way that I'm going to go ahead and make part of this recording, but I'm not going to read them word for word or elaborate on them. I got too much to cover in today's tip. Tip number 4 was stop calling yourself a coach And we've already elaborated in weeks past on the rest of that tip and why that's important. Another Kluby snack, we're always more than just a coach. And then we want to get into super honesty about our why. And you guys would be proud of me that I'm avoiding my temptations to elaborate on these things. There's another Kluby snack there for you. And so, each of these tips have one or two Kluby snacks in them. And often they're worth reprinting in here to make part of the live stream. And, for some reason, there's 3 back to back to back in those middle tips and self-promotion. And so when we get to tip number 6, that's being super confident about our what, because we want to shift to solution providing rather than self-promotion, solution promotion rather than self-promotion. Tip number 7, get professionally, not any other way, but professionally, appropriately, professionally intimate with your who. Tip number 8, forget your how. And tip number 9, I always love this one. This is a tip that got repurposed, in prior versions of Get a Klu in 52. It's repurposed, this tip. And same with today's tip. There's some repurposing as well. And I mentioned that in the introduction to the book is a couple of the things that I want people to know about this book. It's not comprehensive. We're just giving the tip. We've got a deeper dive on all of this stuff. And some of these tips showed up in prior versions of Get a Klu in 52, and now they're being repurposed for their context in how we're carrying the overall brand promise of this book. Tip number 10 was prepare to speak your way to success. People aren't afraid of speaking. They're afraid of preparing to speak. I digress. And then we got into this, how should I say, pivot tip, if you will. This tip number 11 here, little pink spoons, is the last tip in self-promotion, but it's the one that really has us looking forward to where we are now, enrollment or engagement. And very simply, I offer 2 complimentary coaching sessions. That's how I built my coaching practice. Not by offering 0, believing that I'm arrogant and I don't have to give anything away for free, because that would be ignoring the time-tested and proven research and cases that have shown that when we give people a risk-free trial of a new product idea, innovation, or service, as long as they can have a risk-free trial of it, they're more likely to adopt or to buy. So aspiring and emerging coaches or seasoned professionals that have had success in their career, but then are now offering coaching that say, well, I don't give away complimentary coaching because I'm too valuable or I'm too arrogant or I'm too whatever. I think you might be missing something. Of course, if you got super successful prior in your career and you're not coaching for money at all, then maybe you don't want to give it away for free. But what I'm talking to is I'm basically sharing what I went through, how I built my career, how in the worst economy since the Great Depression in 2007, 8, 9, 10, did I start convincing people to pay me money to talk to me. And it wasn't working with the one comp session that my coach's training trained me. I didn't believe in 0. And I don't believe in the other side of the equation where let's do more than 2. How about I just coach you for free until it works? And then when it works, you'll give me testimonials. That's lame duck. That's trying to build a mansion on top of quicksand because there's no skin in the game for either party. And the coach isn't getting paid to coach, so they're likely to cancel. And the person isn't paying to coach. So they're likely to cancel and reschedule. So there's not the commitment, the consistency, the necessity that breeds the commitment of discipline and so forth. So that little pink spoons is what transitions us into where we are now. We've got 9 tips in the engagement and enrollment section. And 2 weeks ago, we talked about tip number 12, right? Which is it's all and concurrently not about you. This is a dilemma that coaches need to strike balance on, because we want to serve, we want to help, we want to serve, we want to help, but we're self-promoting and we also have to eat and get enrollment or engagement. So it's kind of all about us, right? We're not going to eat if we don't get people to pay us for our coaching, or we're not going to build teams or meet company objectives if we don't get people engaged in our leadership. One of the skills in our toolbox would be coaching skills, right? So we're not going to get those goals achieved if we can't, right, focus on us and what is about what about it is about us. At the same time, it's not about us. It's not about us as coaches. It's really not how we look or what we say, or it's really about, can we get the job done for the person? Do we know how to get people engaged, motivated, and accountable? And can we listen carefully? Can we diagnose? Can we build it on and on and on? So we're moving to that today. But last week we talked about this tip of setting expectations, all of them. And what I really want to emphasize here is make sure when you're offering, if you're going to embrace my tip, and if you want to learn about how to offer 2 complimentary sessions, right? Before you just go offer 2 complimentary sessions, make sure somehow that they know, right? One of the expectations is that at the end of the second session, they will be asked to make a decision. Do you want me to be your coach? Do you want to move forward in a coaching relationship? Do you want to have an enrollment dialogue? Do you want to customize a program for you? Right? So if we don't set the expectation for them that is at the end of the second session, we're not going to be as effective. We're not as honest. We're not vibrating purely if we don't say. And I had all these dialogues last week. It's so funny. It's up to 2, then it's up to you. It's up to 2, then maybe we're through. It's up to 2, then you'll get a clue or you'll know what to do or whatever, right? But I set the expectations. You only get the second session if you liked the first one. I set the expectations. Budget 90 minutes for the first session. Not that we'll need all 90, but what we need is not to be looking over our shoulder at the next appointment, so that dilutes the coaching value that I'm committed to giving you. I don't want you distracted by your next appointment coming up, and I don't want to be distracted by not my next appointment coming up. So budget 90 minutes for the first session. We'll budget 60 minutes for the second session, and by the end of those 2.5 hours of coaching, you'll know if you want me to be your coach, and I'll ask you about that. Is that fair? So there's nothing wrong, right? And I can role played with coaches training students or mentor, the people that I'm mentoring in this material, in this content. And there's all kinds of ways to say it and set these expectations, right? But that was tip number 13 last week. And so what that does is it brings us to today's tip. And, I'm 16 minutes in and 45 minutes budgeted. And I previewed this. I looked at this morning. I was like, oh, man, this is a big tip. But let's just see what we can get into here, having set the table and get us caught up to where we're at. Tip number 14 is, after we've set all the expectations, what you want to understand now is we're in the session. So imagine that the first of these 2 complimentary coaching sessions has begun. Okay, here we go. Tip number 60. And you guys, leave your mics open, Patty and Sue. And I'm going to be looking at the words here, and I'm going to be reading super fast. But keep your microphones open. If at any point you have a comment, a question, or, hey, Jeff, you missed something or anything, just shout it out, because I may not see you non-verbally if I'm reading the words. So keep your microphones open and give me a shout if anything like that happens. So here we go. This is kind of fun. It's so fun when I get permission from myself to use something from a book that I've written in the past. Anyway, here we go. Again, I got permission from myself, parentheses. I wish I didn't love saying that as much as I do, LOL, and parentheses, to reprint. I got permission from myself to reprint tip number 1 from the sales section of the original volume of Get a Klu in 52. Here it is with some slight modifications and additional bonus content. Parentheses, there are 4 tips within this tip, one of which has a 3-step tip within it for readers of this volume, right? So that's fast, but we got a lot to cover today, and I'm just going to go for it, you guys. You ready? So here we go. Tip number 1 in sales section of Get a Klu in 52, this version of Get a Klu in 52 with slight modifications. Build rapport. In fact, do not do anything in a sales process until you know you are in rapport with someone. Building rapport is more than just noticing a picture of someone fishing in their office and then saying, you love fishing too. Building rapport means a willingness to invest however much time it takes to really and truly get to know someone such that they feel, sense, or even declare that you do. Be careful not to confuse needing to know someone with needing to know everything about someone. That might never happen. More so, aim for the importance of your prospects believing you have a good idea of who they are and how they got to be who they are, where they are, and how they got to be where they are, etc. When you do this work of getting to know someone in an honest and dedicated way, everything else you want to do in a sales process is much easier, including terminating the process when getting to know someone reveals that you should not be selling to them. Right? Sometimes I find out, this is the funny part. Oh my God, we could stop the session right now. What, did I do something wrong? No. I just realized that you don't need a coach. You just need a training course, or you need a shrink, or you just need a friend and a bottle of wine, right? No, anyway, I digress. Here we go. Tip number 14 in Get a Klu in 52 for coaches, right? Build authentic rapport. Here's the bonus content I promised above. I teach these steps in my coaching and leadership training and practice, role play, and help people master them in my Klu's Ooze, which is online office hours, group mentoring. Fair warning, as with all tips in this book, simply reading this alone might not be enough to help you execute it masterfully. I know that in my training, mentoring, and upcoming online tip reading sessions, I will have so much more to say, demonstrate, deep dive on, etc. That said, here are the 4 major things I do teach, train, mentor, master to build authentic rapport to start my comp coaching with a prospect. So number one, set expectations. Sound familiar? Following on our previous tip last week, one way to build rapport is to make sure people know what to expect. Imagine that feeling the first time you were driving somewhere, wondering if you're going the right way or not. How it seems like you get home and half the time it took you to get there in the first place. That's because all of the unknown your brain is trying to process on the way there that it doesn't have to on the way back. Likewise, we want to eliminate unknowns, uncertainty, and the automatic defense mechanisms of our prospects so that the coaching gets in, so to speak. Things I might say. So now I want you to like this. Now I'm actually giving you actual dialogues, literal dialogues that I might say that I've been doing for 15, 16, 17, 18 years of this coaching game. Welcome to COP session 1. Remember, you only get a second session if you like this one. So my intention today is that this is valuable for you. And at the end of the session, I will ask what was valuable or most valuable for you about the session. Cool? Note, I make sure they acknowledge that verbally or non-verbally in the affirmative before proceeding. Cool? Smiley face? Good. So you can, thank you. So are you actually following along in the book? You see the smiley faces that I'm printing? Good. So you can imagine that to make this super valuable, I'm going to have to learn more about you and ask you a bunch of questions. Parentheses, note, I pause for them to also observably acknowledge that before I continue. But before I do, I would like to start with your questions. So forget the parenthetical references. Let me read that a little more smoothly. Are you guys ready? Like, let's say, like, Patty, welcome to complimentary coaching session number 1. Remember, you only get a second session if you like this one. So my intention is that this is super valuable for you. And at the end of the session today, I'm going to ask you what was valuable or most valuable about the session. Is that cool?
Yep.
All right. So good. So you can imagine that to make this super valuable, I'm going to have to learn more about you and ask you a bunch of questions. But before I do, I would like to start with your questions. And so I'm using
Great.
caps here. So that's how it may seem, that's how it may sound in an actual dialogue, even though I'm going back and forth with my voices of showing you what I may say to an actual prospect. But my author voice is also in here for you to make notes of what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, how I'll pause, wait for the acknowledgments and so forth. Let me move forward to number 2, right? The second way that we want to build rapport is to be transparent. Remember, the first way to build rapport is to set expectations so people have certainty and they know where they're going. Number 2 is, I'll go ahead and read word for word, be transparent. There are lots of reasons to start with their questions first and be disciplined about not doing anything other than answering their questions until they literally cannot think of any more questions. Even then, you'll continually ask if they have any questions along the way. In short, you must be transparent. Make yourself see-through. Literally establish that there is nothing you are hiding from, not telling, or afraid to tell, lack confidence in sharing, or lack excitement for, etc. In short, it is part of disarming your client, lowering their defenses. And I said client, but I meant prospect, right? At this stage, they're a prospect. So lowering their defenses, which are automatically on alert in coaching, and even more so in comp coaching, that they know is leading to a decision. It may sound like this. Your question, ... your questions. Really, despite all the things I'll ask you, there's nothing more important than your questions. Plus, I can structure the session around what I learned from your questions versus take you through my process, so to speak. So let's start with your questions. Ask me anything. Great question. Answer. What other questions? Any other questions? No? Okay. Well, here's the thing. Once you have exhausted and they've asked, just keep repeating. Great question. Have I answered your question? Do you have any other questions? Great question. Answer. Have I answered your question? Do you have any other questions? And keep going until they've, and this is what I'm going to say right here, back to word for word. Well, feel free to interrupt at any point if more questions come up. I will be able to keep us on track. But if you have no more questions now, I'd like to begin asking you some. Cool? And I'm just saying cool here, but you say, is that all right? Are you ready to move forward? Can we proceed? I want to get the yes. I want to get the acknowledgement. And there's all kinds of reasons why. And try not to proceed and coach everything that moves and take people through your process that you learned and read from your script. No, stay engaged with your prospect, know what you're doing, and ask them for the permission and their readiness each step of the way to move forward to the next step in your process. So the third thing that we want to do to build authentic rapport is to be invested or investigative, right? So let me go ahead and read word for word from the third thing we want to do to build authentic rapport. The third thing I do to build authentic rapport is I start asking questions. I hope you can feel how much permission I have at this point to do so. Moreover, I don't just want to be an interviewer like I'm having the prospect verbally fill out a form at a doctor's office. I want to be invested like an investigator that wants to keep going further and further with each layer of truth revealed until all problem-solving facts have been found. By the way, that's Kluby snack material right there. Did everybody hear that? I'm going to read it again. I want to be invested like an investigator that wants to keep going further and further with each layer of truth revealed until all problem-solving facts have been found. Again, we don't have to know everything about the person, but we must know enough to know if we can help them or not. I have 2 questions prepared in advance, and everything I ask is a follow-up question to the answers I get to these 2 questions. Here we go. Question number 1. What do you normally share when you decide you're going to let somebody get to know you? Question number 2. What do you feel is important for me to know as your coach? Now, Sue and Patty, you're here with me. You've been, following the coaching and training and the mentoring all along. You've heard me deliver this and role play this a number of different ways. But in the entire 2.5-hour process, what I just read right there, that's the only thing that's memorized word for word. And I'm not going to get into the deep dive in this context because it's just a tip read. But trust me when I tell you, in the coaching and leadership training and the Clues group mentoring, we go deep on the neuro-linguistics of why these words are chosen, and then how do you execute and deliver these questions, and how do you stay on these 2 questions until you've gotten all of the answers you can possibly get to these questions. Same thing. Don't let them stop asking you questions until they literally can't think of any other question. And don't let them stop answering your questions until they literally cannot think of any more answers to these 2 questions. Now, there's probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more hours worth of strategy around these questions, but that's not for this context. I will let everyone know by the end of today's session how you can get involved in Clues online office hours, which is the group mentoring around all of my coaching and leadership training content. How do we get people engaged? How do we get people motivated? How do we hold them accountable? So I'll be promoting group mentoring all year long at the end of every single tip. Let me get back to word for word reading here because I still got a lot to cover. There are thousands of different directions the session could go with just these 2 questions and follow-up questions to the answers we get from these 2 questions. There are a handful of things that I really want to learn and things I'm listening for, searching for in the answers to these questions. What was growing up like? What did mom and dad do if both were in the picture? Any siblings? And if so, where were you in the birth order? Any major accomplishments in high school or college? What about career path? What is the current status of family, career, health, wealth, etc.? I want to know these things. And I hope they come out just from my 2 questions above. But I will directly ask if working with an analytical or a guarded behavioral style. While I'm learning all of these things, I'm listening very carefully for things that I love, admire, respect, or appreciate about the person, which leads to the 4th thing I do to build authentic rapport to start complementary coaching. Number 4, be a raving fan. From the little pink spoon perspective, this is a perfect time to give a sample of what a cheerleader you will be for your prospect when they become your client. This is the perfect time to show your prospect that you can recognize strengths, deliver strengths-based coaching. Deliver strength-based coaching. You don't want to say that 5 times fast, I'll tell you that. All right. I also get to foreshadow that growing/achieving goals in coaching will be hard. So I want the prospect to know that I can see the best foot to put forward when it's time to put their best foot forward. We have already been listening for what we love, admire, respect, or appreciate about the prospect, and now it's simply time to tell them. To do it in a genuine and authentic way, I recommend applying what I have always called the Klubeck 3-step. It's a communication tool. This tool works in a lot of situations, from short answer questions on exams to genuine apologies in cherished relationships. There's a saying that flattery will get you nowhere, and the 3-step is what ensures your strengths finding doesn't come off as flattery. So step number 1 is identify. You state the compliment purely and simply. I think that you are smart. I think that you are brave and courageous. I think you are creative. I think you are passionate. Whatever it is, state it succinctly. Then, step number 2, explain, define, or justify. Without this step, you're stuck in flattery. But with this step, you move to a genuine compliment. I love the transition from number 1 to number 2, or step 1 to step 2, with I say that because. When I stop reading word for word, maybe we can talk about how powerful that is. And then my mind allows me to share the reasoning that formed while I was listening for what I love, admire, respect, or appreciate about the prospect. Taking number 1 and number 2 together, here's what it may sound like. I think you are courageous, and I say that because most people aren't as fearless in sharing the things you've shared right away. Very often, someone is in coaching for more than 3 months before they are ready to reveal or address some of the things you have shared. So I stated the courage, that's the compliment, and then I went into because. I'm saying that because. So I've transitioned from flattery to genuine compliment, but I'm not done. Note, do not do this if you're not sincere. If you don't really mean it, do not do this. If you don't really think they're courageous, don't tell them they're really courageous, right? They're like really, really, very, very, very important to pay attention to that. You have to be honest and true. That's why when you're gathering info, when you ask those 2 core questions, those pillar questions, what would you normally share when you decide you're going to let anybody get to know you? Or what do you feel is important for me to know as your coach? Now, all of the things that you're listening for there, definitely problem-solving facts. And if you think you can help them from a coaching perspective, but you also have to be listening for what you genuinely love, admire, respect, appreciate. Because when it's time to let them know what you see as their strengths, you want to do that with genuine authenticity. You don't want to sound fake, phony, contrived, salesy, or any of those things. So just don't do it unless you're super, super, super sincere. When I'm taking notes in my coaching sessions, the little section on the page where I know I'm going to write the compliment, I'm listening for it. I'm like, oh, and I'll write the word. And then I get to think about why I love that about them. And then it's easier to deliver. So here we go. If you don't really mean it, do not do this. This is what is critical to be listening for what you truly love, admire, respect, and appreciate well in advance of the moment where you actually have to go ahead and, what does I say here? So you are ready for it honestly and genuinely. Okay. So now step number 3 in the Clue Back 3 step. And it's not just about compliments. Like this works for apology. This works for short answers on midterms and final exams. This works for forgiveness. This works for, right? But step number 3 is apply or exemplify. Like make what you just said, make the compliment that you just delivered, make it, how does this live and breathe in the real world? Apply it to real world or exemplify it, or don't just let it sit where it was. Give it another dimension, bring it to life, if you will. And this is step 3. On a short answer question for an exam, this step is usually prompted by be sure to include an example in your answer. You guys remember that from college? Be sure to include an example in your... Sound familiar? This prompt is to take the learner's vision to where this thing, courageous or whatever, is identified in step 1. Where does it live and breathe in the real world? Don't just tell me one purpose of listening is to be empathetic, and don't just describe to me what empathetic means. Include an example of someone listening for the purpose of being empathetic, like when we ask if someone is okay or if there's anything we can do to support them in a loss or a tough time. When structuring a genuine compliment, I find it most effective to simply ask the prospect to justify the compliment with their own examples or voice. It may sound a little something like this. Have you always been this courageous and open, or is it more specific to how urgent you believe this situation is? So I say, hey, I think you're courageous, and I say that because many people are in coaching for 3 to 6 months before they're ready to reveal all of the real heavy issues that you are already able to share. Have you always been this courageous, or is this a function of the urgency? And now me asking that question allows them to answer. And now it's not just my compliment, but they're speaking to the compliment. They're justifying the compliment that I just justified. And now it's a compliment that we share. And it's a matter of truth in our relationship that we can build on because it's positive, it's strengths finding, it demonstrates the listening. I can keep going on and on and on and on and on why this is important. And that's what I do in my Clues Ooze group mentoring sessions, which I'll tell you guys about towards the end of the session. For now, let me sprint to the finish line on what we're reading here, last paragraph. There are dozens of more things within these 3 that I can share in the other contexts of, live tip readings, coaching and leadership training, group mentoring. For now, I hope what I was able to share here provides enough value for you to make any improvements in the rapport you are building during your complimentary coaching. So not bad, 934. That was a lot, right? Woo! But there we have it. And I saw some stuff in there that I'd love to create banners around and put them on the screen. But what I what I'm going to do is ask for comments or questions from Patty and Sue to make this a little interactive, and that might give me a chance to pop in a banner or something like that. But any comments or questions from you guys about what we covered today, especially because you have familiarized yourself with this tip in the other context that I was mentioning. Patty, you've been at the retreats. Sue, you've been in the online Clues mentoring session. Both of you guys have. So I'm really excited to hear from you guys for a moment.
Go ahead, Sue.
It's like, Patty, are you going to go? I have found this tip valuable in many contexts, and not only in the coaching sense of identifying a compliment, but when offering an opinion in a meeting or another context, being able to state that opinion and then justify it by following up with it. And I say that because and giving what I found is that it gives credibility, I suppose, to what I'm offering, and that it's not just a whimsical comment for the sake of saying something. It's a well thought out contribution. So I have found this, really helpful in a number of contexts.
Well, here's what's interesting when I'm listening to your comment, right, is that we can agree on the value to the prospect. Follow? Like once the step 1, step 2, and even step 3 leaves our mouth, we can see how important that is for the genuine, the authenticity, the believability, the trust, there. But what I was realizing as you were speaking is that I think what's beautiful is knowing that we want to execute, knowing that we want to listen for what we love, like, appreciate, expect, respect, etc. Knowing that we're going to be delivering a compliment before we move forward in the coaching process or the complementary coaching process. Don't do anything in the complementary coaching process until you've built rapport. So today's tip is just on building rapport. Next week, we're going to say, well, what do you do after you build rapport? And we're going to go ahead and go through how do we execute these 2 comp sessions. But what I want you to understand is your thinking, your attentiveness as the coach in that situation, when you are proactively listening for what you love, like, and then you're in that with them, you're in real time with them. And so part of your brain is continuing to listen, and part of your brain is like processing. What's the compliment, and how will I justify that compliment, and what question will I use to ask them to justify my compliment? So you're doing that over here while you're actually in the real time, and it expands your muscle memory in your brain for how to puppeteer all the things that you're thinking about during the session and all the things. So, multitasking is a farce or a myth to some degree, but I can literally listen to what somebody is saying and be formulating, right? And balance that and make sure it still comes genuine. But what happens for us as coaches is that it gives our mind, our brain, a muscle memory. It's like exercise for our brain to get stronger and stronger and stronger about more quickly and masterfully identifying what we love, like, admire, respect, appreciate, and then more quickly getting to the why and the because of that all. And then it becomes like a hot knife through warm butter to then ask them about it and then listen more to them justify our compliment. So one piece of value is how credible and authentic it lands for the prospect. The other part of the value prior to that is how much our strength mentally as a coach builds as we're actively looking for these things with a live fish on the hook, so to speak. So thank you for that.
True.
Patty, what do you got?
Well, just listening to this reminds me of how powerful it is for the prospect to acknowledge the courageousness or whatever you've just complimented them for, because people go around in life and they don't, kind of value themselves. So I think it's really powerful that they get to, acknowledge who they are and have somebody, be there for that.
Yeah, and I put that's important. I can tell you from my experience, and by the way, it's one of the reasons I love you guys so much, because you love me. I like hanging out with you guys. Like, no, tell me more. But what I really love about that isn't the flattery or the compliment. it's the opportunity to prove you guys right. Right. So along that, I put the Klubi snack that I thought was a Klubi snack. It wasn't identified in the book as a Klubi snack, but as I read it, I'm like, ooh, that's good. And what I want to point out here is problem-solving facts. Not all problem-solving facts are problems. One of the problem-solving facts is how awesome you are. Do you understand? This is what we're getting at. I will say, and I glanced over it when I was reading word for word, but here's how it may sound in a complimentary session, right? Well, let's use Sue as the role play here. Hey, Sue, before we move forward in the session, and I ask you the tougher question about what needs to be different and, what problems that we might focus on in a coaching relationship, I just want to let you know that I love your dedication. I say that because I can't remember anything that I've done publicly that you haven't made all effort in the world to be at it. I've seen, it doesn't matter if it's 3 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you're finding a way to show up. And I just need to know, like, have you always been that dedicated, or is there anybody else in your life you're that dedicated to, or am I special somehow? Because this is about your dedication, your commitment, your tenacity, and we may need to lean on that strength of yours in the future when we're solving a problem. Can you tell me about that?
Oh, wow.
Did you hang on, real pause? Like, you want to go with the role play, but did you hear what I'm saying? I'm saying, look, I need to know what's awesome about you, and I need you to know what's awesome about you, because we lean on awesomeness to solve the problems.
I
I
like
need to
that.
know what your best foot is, because we need to put it forward.
Do
you have any comment or feedback on that?
I like that, actually. To lay that as a foundation, because it acknowledges the value, as coming back to what Patty was saying, acknowledges the value of the person, but it also says we don't have to be perfect. We don't have to be everything to everyone, and so it gives that space, I suppose, to be vulnerable.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot. That's what one of the 90 minutes. I cringe when I see the coaches out there that are trying to building a coaching practice offering a 30-minute complimentary coaching session. I'm like, what the hell do you think you're going to do in 30 minutes?
Right.
Especially if it's only one session.
Yeah.
Right. So we need the space to be vulnerable so that we can really find out what's really going on. If I have a real chance, and in 30 minutes, I'm like, hey, let me show you this exercise. Break out a pen and write this double over under down. Now look behind you. What credit card do you want to put that on? And I just don't do things that way. All right. I will take however much time it takes to really get to know you, such that you feel that I really get to know you, and that you trust that I'm going to find all your strengths, and I'm going to be just as honest about the gaps and the holes or the weaknesses or the threats. And then we're going to move forward together. Patty, do you have something else, or are we going to, there's some things that I kind of wanted to share that I promised during the session that I want to get to, if I may. So just as a matter,
go ahead.
Yeah, as a matter of review, we talked a couple tips ago about there's no better way to self-promote than public speaking. So if you want to get an ebook, 8 Steps to Fearless Public Speaking, I'm going to talk about freebies. I'm going to talk about all the freebies that I'm offering, and then some paid things that people can get into, right? So that's free. To get a free copy of Get a Klu in 52, 8 Steps to Fearless Public Speaking, free copy. Just send an email there. As we've been talking about, there's 9. I got a video, a 22-minute video that talks about 9 reasons why I offer 2 comp sessions instead of 1, 0, or more than 2. So if you want to get that video to learn more about the why of it all, then send us email to info@getaklu.net with the subject line, why 2 comp sessions? And you can put the yes in there if you want, even though I didn't put the S of sessions. Why 2 comp session? All right. Another thing that's free is my YouTube channel, and I'm streaming into my YouTube channel right now. So I've streamed all the 52 tips for the last couple of years. Anyway, yeah. So there's all kinds of free videos and content and good stuff. Watch Get a Klu is my YouTube channel. And now I want to see if I can do this real quick and get into presentation mode. Let's just see if I can share screen. This is like I'm taking a chance. That you guys Chrome tab window entire screen. Oh yeah. Okay. So can you guys see my screen right now? Oh my God, we're going deep into the abyss. Like, boom, 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 boom. All right, you can see my screen right now. So first of all, what I want you guys to see is I'm going to log in to the integrity. Can you see? Tell me if you can still see it, by the way.
Yes,
Yep.
the sign in.
Hmm?
The sign in part.
Yeah, and StreamYard is sharing your screen. Okay. Can't be reached. What's going on here? See, I was taking a chance because I'm not as fluid on this in StreamYard as I am in other areas. I mean, on Zoom. And maybe it won't let me sign in while, all right, here we go. So here's, it should have let me do it. Let's just see if it likes me now. It likes me now. Yay. All right. So the Integrity Game Learning Library is something that we're building, right? And it's a membership site. And what you'll see here is that there's courses and freebies and the books, and you can even become an affiliate if you want to get your own custom link to any of these things and promote. We offer 30% as a general, an affiliate commission to anybody that wants to promote what we're doing. And we're getting more and more confident about promoting these things, but they were in build mode, and some of these things still are in build mode. So you can see, let's get to learning. You know, these courses are set up with workbooks or videos or PDFs. Everything I do comes with live time with me, one-on-one. So it's not just like buy it and go take yourself through it. It's always blended with real interaction with me for accountability, interaction, etc. But you can see what courses we're building: the 90-day challenge, the confident communicator, smart goal setting, 8 steps to fearless public, etc. So the one that I've been looking at or referring to a lot today is group mentoring. What I want you guys to see, if I can get this right, is here's a landing page, right? And here's a video right here that will play that'll tell you all about it. Here's the ingredients of like the mastermind, the concept of a mastermind. When you get a group together and you're doing mentoring, etc., we could benefit from mastermind, hot seat style stuff. But you'll see the brand promises, live online office hours. We also have over 100 sessions recorded in the archives. We do 36 sessions, 3 sessions a month live, plus, you know, we have over 100 in the archives. And what are we talking about? We're talking about how do we get people engaged, right? This is what we're talking about today in today's session. And we got, finish these tips, and then we're going to move on to motivation and accountability. So it's one thing to read a tip from a book and spray it out for free on social media channels. But if you really want to do role plays, if you want to get advanced client enrollment training, if you want to watch videos of live coaching or live, recorded coaching sessions that I've done so we can case study them. Did I mention the hundreds of hours of the archives? And of course, all of your questions answered. You can ask me anything when you come onto these sessions, right? So there's no way to get all of this in a one-on-one coaching program. So I've built what I think is a very deep and thorough and fun group coaching experience. You don't have to take it from me because I've got all these testimonials from people all over around the world, and I've served a lot of corporations and clients and all that credibility stuff. And I think this is really valuable, but we're offering this for $100 a month. But I'm going to give you guys a coupon code, and it's going to be VIP TIG GM for group mentoring 50. So you would enter that code, and then this would go to $100 off. Wait, let's check the box. Well, maybe I got to put in the rest of that stuff first, is what's going on. Anyway, the point is that it will work when you try it, not when I try it. And then when you actually click and look at group mentoring, if you actually order and enroll in group mentoring, when you click on it and get into it, this is what it looks like. So now here's where you'd schedule a one-on-one with me. And here's all of the sessions that we did in 2022, all of the sessions that we did in 2021, all of the sessions that we did in 2020. And what you can see is they're organized by motivation, engagement, and accountability. And we have the video recordings as well as the audio recordings, because some people like to podcast style or listen while they're walking or exercising. You could tell there's a workbook that supports all of the content that we deliver, and lots of great, hi Patty, hi Sue. You guys, like I said, have been with me and following all of this content. And one of these days we'll all be jumping for joy like this guy right here. But anyway, you guys understand, just endless amounts of content for $50 a month if you take advantage of the code. And that's just 2021. All right. So again, like we said, we've got 2020, 2022. And this was really important when we were, it was a COVID year and we were bonding, and these were important sessions. And I was vulnerable in these sessions. My parents were dying, and coming to these sessions, the couple of times a month that I did, and being able to teach and do what I love and mentor and immerse in this content, it was really valuable for me therapeutically. And so you guys are family to me, if those of you that have been in these sessions, and hopefully proud of me that I'm now making them available. And we want to populate this program with as many people as we can, emerging, aspiring, and expert coaches want to come into group mentoring and be leaders with me. So that's available, and you got the discount code there. The other thing that we have, we're not ready with a couple of these yet, but smart goal setting is ready. We can offer a discount code to smart goal setting. If I go back to my StreamYard, and let's see. So here we go, smart goal setting. Here's the code for smart goal setting. It's flashing across the screen, TIG VIP 100, and there's the link to it. And the goal setting course, we're going to do live sessions quarterly and put those recordings in, but there's other videos and worksheets and that content that we're populating in the goal setting membership. Very affordable. It's normally $300. You get $100 off. That's I think great value. And once you're in. It's a one-time thing. That cost doesn't repeat. So you're in, and even though we keep on adding new content, we won't change the price, raise the price on that. I could tell you also that we're proud of the 90-day challenge. I mentioned that earlier today in the session. And when we come back over here, the 90-day challenge is the group coaching. It's not mentoring. I'm not teaching people how to be coaches in the 90-day challenge. I'm taking a group of people through the 10-point accountability framework, personal professional growth framework of the integrity game. So when we click on this, what you can see that you get with the 90-day challenge is the 2 complimentary sessions, one-on-one with me or a coach that I've trained, access to the private Facebook group for more engagement and bonus content and posting of Kluby snacks and flyby coaching videos and all kinds of good content. We try to make that more vibrant and animated. There's a workbook here that you can use to fill in the blanks and take notes across the sessions. And of course, this is a self-contained evergreen program. It's got these 12 recordings in here. And if you watch these recordings and answer the questions into your workbook, you can take yourself through a self-paced experience. You don't even have to do it in 90 days. You can do it in 9 days or 9 hours. Well, it's 18 hours worth of video, plus the amount of time you'll invest in your answers to the questions, plus the 2 sessions. That's another 2.5 hours, right? So 90-day challenge, but it's like less than 50 hours total, however that works out for you. So we're super excited about that as well. And like I said, that's currently, and we're going to run it again, by the way. So in September, right after Labor Day, we're going to do another 90-day challenge. I'm going to recruit or book 12 new subject matter experts. In addition to the 14 guests that I had last year, I'm going to book 12 new. I might even bring back some veterans and some alumni, right? But 12 new, which means the value of the program is going up. So get it now. It's $497, $200 off makes it $297 for you. And it's a one-time thing. It doesn't repeat. So get in now. What's going to happen after September 1st this year? It's going to go up to $997. So if you get in now at $497 with the coupon code, takes it down to $297. And later on in September or maybe August, September, in the future, people are going to be paying 4 figures, like over $1,000 for it if we keep on adding value to it. So all of this is brand new and exciting for me, getting all of it started. But I want to show you what we're building, and I want to make sure that you guys understand all the other ways that I'm trying to be of service to emerging, aspiring coaches, as well as the people that really need coaching in their lives. So we get things that are coming along the way. The Confident Communicator. This is 8 modules with a fill-in-the-blank workbook and worksheets. And, these are 8 recordings here that take you systematically through a process of improving your communication skills. So we're excited about all of these things that we're building. And I think I've done a fair job letting you know about a lot of it tonight, but a confused mind never buys. And I know that, but I'm still too excited not to share all of this with you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing momentarily. And that brings me back present with you guys. I've got another jam coming up in 7 minutes. It's the monthly board meeting for the Professional Coaches Alliance. This is something that I recommend any emerging, aspiring, or even the expert coaches out there that want to lead and mentor others or have content to contribute to PCA programs or want to be a Biz Labs member to provide skills or resources for aspiring and emerging coaches. There's a lot of reasons to be a member of the Professional Coaches Alliance. I'm Vice President of Communication for the Professional Coaches Alliance. It's an easy website to find, Professional Coaches Alliance. And in 6 minutes, I'm going to be joining our monthly board meeting. So, and just quick shout out to Margot Garcia, VP of Programs, who's usually a regular attendee in these sessions. I didn't do the best job getting the invites out in time. Plus, she's probably getting ready for our board meeting too. And I know my man, Dr. Tom Teague, who's Executive Director and President of Professional Coaches Alliance, he would probably be here too, if not for his attention on running and making sure the agenda is ready, dialed in for this meeting that I'm going to get into in 5 minutes. So we covered a lot today, and I'm just super excited. The last thing that I'm going to say is, if you have any questions about any of this that you're not able to ask me now live in real time, if you want to know more about group mentoring, know more about the 90-day challenge, know more about goal setting, know more about the 2 sessions, just schedule with me. Here's the scheduling link: meetme.so/get-a-clue. Click on the link. It'll go to my calendar, book an appointment. Make sure you let me know what the appointment's about, right? And then I'll show up ready to go, get all your questions answered, and we'll move you in the path that you want to be moved in. And you can do it with confidence, and you can do it with love, and we can have a lot of fun along the way. Personal and professional growth is hard enough. That's why I like to be jovial and just be my sports fanatic, passionate self, right? I'll put on a suit and tie if I have to, but I really don't want to. Anyway, having said all of that, let me say this. Thank you, Patty and Sue, for being with me today. Thank you, those of you that out there that chimed in a little bit live, or if you saw it on social, or if you're watching a recording of this in the future. Oh, yeah. We want to seal it with a kiss like we used to do, or like, hey, let's get the hugs or whatever. Anyway, I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here. Have yourselves a great weekend. Happy birthday today to the Integrity Game that was released 1 year ago today. And happy birthday to me, my 51st tomorrow. Go San Diego State Aztecs. Stay passionate about whatever it is you're doing in life. Thank you, guys. I love you all. We'll see you next time.
Bye. Happy birthday.
Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
happy
Thank you. Thank
birthday.
you.